In the 1920s, America fell in love with the automobile, and in its cities, that love affair turned deadly. Mass production put millions of cars onto streets that were never designed for them. Streets shared with pedestrians, streetcars, horses, and children at play. The result was carnage. In the deadliest years, automobiles were killing tens of thousands of Americans annually, and a staggering share of the victims were kids, struck down in the very streets where they lived. The traditional city grid, that endless checkerboard of crossing roads, had quietly become a machine for collisions. Every single block was a battleground where car and human met head-on. Two men looked at this chaos and reached a radical conclusion. You couldn't fix the old city, you had to start over. Clarence Stein and Henry Wright were planners and architects, disciples of the Garden City movement, and their idea was audacious. Build an entirely new town, from raw farmland, engineered from the ground up to tame the automobile. They found their site in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, just outside New York City. They called it Radburn, the town for the motor age. This is the story of how engineers tried to build the world's first car-proof utopia, and why it almost worked. To beat the car, Stein and Wright started by destroying the thing every American city was built on: the grid. In a standard grid, streets cross each other constantly, and every intersection is a conflict point, a place where through traffic slices directly through neighborhoods. So Radburn's engineers threw it out. In its place, they invented the superblock. A superblock is exactly what it sounds like: an enormous block, 30 to 50 acres in size, far too large for any street to cut across. The interior was left open and green. All the fast, dangerous traffic was pushed to the edges, onto wide arterial roads that ringed each superblock like a moat. But people still needed to drive home. So the engineers fed cars into the block using short, dead-end lanes, early versions of what we now call the cul-de-sac. These lanes reached just a few hundred feet inward, served a small cluster of homes, and then simply stopped. No through traffic, no shortcuts, no reason for a stranger's car to ever enter. You could drive to your own front door, but you could never pass through to somewhere else. In one move, the engineers had separated the two things that had been killing people for a decade: the moving car and the living neighborhood. Now came the most radical move of all. The engineers turned the houses around. In every normal town, the logic is simple. The front door faces the street, and the backyard hides behind. Radburn flipped it completely. Here, the back of the house, the garage, the service door, the driveway, faced the road. And the front of the house, the living room, the porch, the main entrance, faced inward, away from the street entirely. What were they facing instead? Parks. At the center of every superblock, the engineers carved out vast interior greens, continuous ribbons of shared parkland that the homes wrapped around. So when you stepped out your front door, you didn't land on asphalt, you stepped onto a lawn. The automobile was banished to the rear and treated like plumbing, necessary but hidden out of sight. The park became the true front yard of the entire community. It was a complete inversion of 200 years of residential design. The street, once the social heart of the neighborhood, was demoted to a service alley. And the green space, usually an afterthought, became the spine that the whole town was built around. But a park is useless if you have to dodge traffic to reach it. So Radburn's engineers built a second, completely separate transportation network, one made entirely for people. Threading through those interior greens ran a continuous system of footpaths. And this pedestrian network never merged with the roads. Wherever a walking path met a car road, the engineers refused to let them cross at the same level. They built underpasses, pedestrian tunnels that dipped beneath the arterial roads, and bridges that carried walkers above them. This is grade separation, the very same principle that keeps highway interchanges from colliding, applied to a quiet New Jersey suburb. And the payoff was the town's most powerful selling point, almost unbelievable for 1929. A child could leave home, walk to school, to the park, to the swimming pool, and to the shops, and never once cross a street with a car on it. Pedestrians and vehicles now lived in two entirely different worlds, stacked, woven together, but never touching. For a nation terrified of losing its children to traffic, Radburn was selling something priceless: safety, engineered directly into the ground. Radburn should have conquered the world. Instead, it was ambushed by history. Construction began in 1929, the exact same year the stock market collapsed. As the Great Depression deepened, the City Housing Corporation, the non-profit developer behind Radburn, simply ran out of money. By the mid-1930s, it was bankrupt. The dream froze in place. Of the full city planned for tens of thousands of residents, only a fraction was ever finished. Essentially 2 superblocks, home to a few thousand people. The complete Radburn never existed. And yet, its ideas escaped. The Radburn idea, the superblock, the cul-de-sac, the separated pedestrian path, the house turned to face the green, spread across the entire planet. It shaped the federal greenbelt towns of the New Deal. It became the template for British and European new towns after the Second World War. And those quiet, curving cul-de-sac suburbs that blanketed post-war America? That DNA traces straight back to Fair Lawn, New Jersey. It even reached Walt Disney, whose original vision for EPCOT, the experimental prototype community of tomorrow, drew on the same Garden City ideals of separating people from traffic that Radburn had pioneered decades before. Radburn was a city that never managed to finish itself, but its blueprint quietly built the modern suburb. If you want more stories of the bold engineering that shaped the world we live in, subscribe to The Engineering Edge, and we'll see you in the next one.